Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Struggle is Real podcast, where we will be discussing the theme of trauma and resilience with a focus on the impact of your upbringing. My name is Darren Noyen, and I will be one of your hosts for today's episode.
Greetings. I am Sydney V. Jones, a first-year pharmacy major hailing from West Palm Beach, Florida, and I will be your other host for today.
Greetings, my name is Ahmad Wynn, a first-year industrial engineering major hailing from Washington, D.C., and I will be your research and copy editor. I will also be asking an open-ended question to conclude the podcast.
Greetings, I am Mara Stewart, a first-year pre-nursing scholar hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I will be the tech editor and podcast production manager for today's episode. I'll also perform an interview today.
And last but not least, greetings. My name is Kanesha Mitchell, a first-year pre-nursing scholar hailing from the best state, of course, Georgia. And I will be your main interviewer today.
All right, let's get right into this. First, Kanesha will be asking Daniel some questions about parental trauma that he will answer based off his own knowledge and firsthand experience.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Darren Jr. Noyen. I am a first-year computer engineering major from Broward County, Florida.
Right into the first question. How can a parent's personal struggles influence an individual's overall outlook on life?
Well, I believe a parent's personal struggles can shape how a child views the world by just setting an example of just how strength, resilience, and determination can help one. When a child watches their parent overcome hardships, they often learn how to approach life with greater gratitude and just perseverance. The parent's challenges become lessons that help the child understand that obstacles can be faced with courage and purpose.
In what ways can a difficult upbringing shape a person's parenting style?
Well, I believe a difficult upbringing can grow a person. A person without support, opportunities, or emotional stability, they may become more intentional about providing those things for their own children. Their past experiences often guide them to create a different, more nurturing environment, ensuring their children receive the love and care and encouragement that they had lacked. And the hardships can oftentimes motivate a parent to break the cycle for the next generation.
And finally, how can unresolved trauma be passed down from one generation to the next?
Well, I believe unresolved trauma can be passed down when just the emotional wounds from one generation affects the behavior and choices of the next. A parent who has not fully healed may unintentionally project their fears, expectations, and just habits onto their children. This can shape how the child is emotionally and how they respond emotionally. And this continuing pattern that begin long before them without healing or awareness can repeat, allowing trauma to just move from one generation to another.
Wow, that was insightful. Next up, let's ask a professor here at FAMU some very deep questions about the impact of your family struggle.
Greetings, I am Mara Stewart, a first-year pre-nursing major hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm here with Professor Bailey.
Good afternoon, good morning, good day to everyone. I'm Dominic Bailey. I serve as the SLS instructor in the Office of Freshman Studies.
And I just want to ask you 3 questions about resilience. So the first question is, how can a previous generation of struggle strengthen the next generation?
How can a previous generation of struggle strengthen the next generation in regards to resilience? Am I understanding that one correctly? So for context, I'm gonna use the 2 generations that I'm prevalent with. I'm a millennial. Don't get me lying about the age range. Somewhere between like 1985 to like 1995 or something like that. The immediate generation after us is, I believe, Gen Zs, right? And Gen Zs is like 2000 and beyond, or 2000 to 2015. So if I'm understanding, how can the previous generation, which would be us as millennials, give guidance or information or to help strengthen the struggle for the next generation? Open dialogue is the biggest thing. And what conversation is, you have to know that there's a sender and there's a receiver, and in between there's a message. The Gen Zs will have to be senders, and millennials will have to receive the message. The millennials will be the senders, and Gen Zs will have to receive the message, right? making sure that it gets encoded, making sure that there's shared experiences, right? Usually when we talk, we say, what's our commonalities, instead of, man, y'all so different. We used to do this back in the day, or y'all are nothing like us. Not everybody wants to be critiqued, or if you are going to critique, let's do 3 strengths and 2 areas of improvement. Gen Zs, you guys are resilient. You do a great job of making sure that finances is a part of your everyday individuality. You're shook up corporate America, where you said, we're going to wear our dyed hair and our baggy jeans, and we're going to have self-expression, and we're not going to work 60 years and die in the last 5. We want life after living. The third thing, you guys are resourceful. You know how to make stuff. You're going to make it happen. Areas of improvement, you can do better with networking and connectivity and bridging the gap. We could do better with the resilience piece, right? Quiet quitting is something amongst your generation. Something doesn't go right, we're done here. I quit. And I'm not going to put in a 2 weeks notice. I'm not doing any of that. But we want to do a better job of just having that, back to my original statement, open line of communication. Making sure the sender and the receiver is able to get it, so that way the message gets encoded.
Why is it important for future generations to remember the struggles of past generations?
There's a philosopher that once said history repeats itself. And if you don't know where you're been, then you won't know where you're going. And it's important to learn from our pitfalls. I'll go back to my original dialogue between the millennials and the Gen Zs. The millennials, I graduated in 2007 from high school. And in 2008 or 2009, it wasn't until then where they passed the Fair Credit Act, meaning that like Wells Fargo's, Chase, Capital One, they were able to come on college campuses and hook us in with a $10,000 credit card, and we don't know anything about it. You all don't have to go through that, because you can learn from our struggles of a $1.5 trillion student loan debt. Now you guys are conscious about the type of money that you're taking out. That's learning from the previous generation. Work-life balance. You've seen your parents work 60, 75 hours, work 2 jobs, maybe spend 5 hours on the weekend, and you realize, okay, I'm not trying to necessarily have that shared experience. This is something that I could do different. But if you're not willing to learn, then you too will fall in the trap of overburden and debt, over-reliance on stress, and then also now you're a product of the bad work-life balance just because you said, I don't got nothing to do with that last generation. It's our own story.
And then our last question is resilience something that people are born with or something that they learn from experience?
I think it's a combination of both. If you take an individual that was born with a medical deficiency or even poverty-stricken, something of that sort, and they overcome that obstacle, they were born into it. So now they're able to overcome these different things and build resilience. There's others, on the other hand, where they can learn it, where they were given everything, and now you take the rug from up underneath them, so to speak, or they have some type of difficulty that they have to overcome, and we see how they navigate through it. They have to learn that experience. So I think it could be either or. I don't think it's one or the other.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh wow, those were some great responses, truly reflective of his extensive education. Next up, we have a double interview by Kanesha Mitchell and Sydney V. Jones.
To start the interview off, we're going to have him introduce yourself.
This is Rashad X. I'm a 4th-year psychology scholar from Tallahassee, Florida. I'll be pulling my source from one of my professors named Dr. Bell.
Continuing on with the double interview, it's Kanesha, and I'm still here with Rashad. The first question is going to be, how does family separation affect one's identity?
All right. I think family separation affects identity because our sense of self is shaped by people who raise us and how connected we feel to them. I also think that people often develop strong self-reliance or identity confusion, either feeling unsure of who they are or feeling that they must survive alone.
The second question is going to be, how does insecurity in one's culture lead to mental struggle?
Yeah, I have a very quick answer for this one. I think cultural insecurity creates internal conflict, feeling dissociation or disconnected from where you come from.
Good answer, good answer. Last question. How can racism exist within a family, and what can that lead to?
So, I think racism can exist in families because families they're inherent
social biases like colorism, their proximity to whiteness, favoritism based on appearance, all these things, all these internalized forms of racism, they lead to a trauma that can explain how children can absorb prejudice even if no one intends harm. And this can lead to self-hate. This can lead to maybe a lack of cultural acceptance, like maybe, for example, a black child may not accept their blackness or not feel worthy in their identity of being a black person, or just not feel black enough due to these internalized forms of racism.
To piggyback off of what he said on this last question, based on having a sister who is of both white and black race, dealing with the white side of her family not accepting the black side of her family caused her to be not fully herself. She didn't understand why her hair was this way, why her skin was this way. She didn't connect to her family. She just didn't feel black, as he said. That's what it can lead to.
Hey, it's Sid again, interviewing Rashad based off my questions of the racism through the educational system in America. So, as you know, Ruby Bridges paved the way for all black people who simply just wanted an education, and Ruby was going through more than a difficult brutality against her just because of her skin color. What would you say to Ruby Bridges during this time in her life, if you were alive during her era?
I would tell Ruby that her courage is changing the future, even if she can't see it. I think I'd remind her that the hate that she is facing isn't really about her. It's about people of greater progress, and then also ties to systems and functions in place according to that.
Okay, very well thought out response. Okay. So, another question here. As you know, Little Rock 9 helped to further weaken institutionalized racism, as they were the first group of African Americans to desegregate Little Rock Central High School. If you were alive back then and was given the privilege to do a new segment on it, what would you make sure to include within the segment?
Very easily, I would focus on the emotional and psychological weight that they carried at such a young age. People talk about the history, but they forget that these were teenagers who were risking their lives just to get an education. I would really also highlight the courage they showed, and the hostility that they faced daily, and the fact that they kept showing up anyway.
Yes, I agree. The tenacity and courage they had is remembered forever and carried on up until now. So thank you for that answer. At FAMU, the #1 public HBCU, where we're here now, how do you influence your peers through your major to continue with their education despite the systemic racism in the world in this present time?
Well, in my own way, I try to influence my peers by being consistent in my own goals and then reminding them why they're here, as well as always encouraging them to continue further and reminding them on their goals. Try to be very supportive, even when they're at low points, and just always showing up for them.
Wow. Okay, yes. I really agree with that. Showing up for just simply checking on your peers and things like that is what matters. And I think the community we have here at FAMU is beyond memorable. So thank you so much for your answers, and I really appreciate having you today.
Welcome. It's my pleasure.
Oh wow, that's truly amazing. His different insights are so fascinating. And lastly on this episode, we're going to conclude with some questions for you, the audience. Those questions were created and will be asked by yours truly, Ahmad Wynn.
Okay, so some of the questions you should answer yourself. Allow your time to reflect and fully understand these. So the first one is, how have your struggles made you a stronger person? The next question is, what trauma have you and your parents experienced that you also experienced? So as a direct result of your parents, how have you shared trauma? And then the final question being, why does unresolved generational trauma continue into future generations, and why does it not get stopped before it passes down?
Thank you all so much for tuning in to our first episode of this podcast. Again, we would like to formally thank Professor Bailey and Dr. Kyle for taking their time out of their day to answering our questions. Have a great day, everyone.